Good morning and welcome back to the Opportunistic Trader for November 8th, Thursday. We have the Fed today. Not expected to do anything. Not a it's not a press conference meeting, so they don't do anything on that. And probably the release of any news will be muted. 10-year and 2-year are pressing up. 2 years on the year high of the move. The 10-year is pressing up at 322. Can't press through the 325, but if it does, maybe it gets interesting. Yesterday, you could probably see my face. I want to hide. I'm going to actually right now. Yesterday was the worst day that we had since we've been broadcasting on the site. We were 0 for 4 with one trailing loser. The 0 for 4 was actually not good. Trades went a little bit too far for us. We tried to give them room, and overall, it wasn't a good day. I'm a little shell shocked. I'm gonna have to trade very lightly. I think, for the month we're not even up money, which is not a place that we like to be. So we got to get in there and come up with better ideas. Yesterday, my mantra was that it wasn't as bullish as what everybody thought because it's a split and he's not going to get anything done. But I should have realized, actually realized the day before when they showed $2 billion for sale and the market rallied 20 handles into the election, what was going on. And Vince is joining me today. I know he wants to talk about some stuff related to that, so I'm going to throw it to you, Vince. You can talk about your election experience.
Amma?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. So my point is this: ask questions to guys like Tom, because Tom will do this, but he'll do it with options. As we go into earnings, is it buy the rumor, sell the news? How do you play it? And the trade to do that I did not was you just sell the VIX, have a level that you're comfortable with, and watch what happens after the election. And I missed that after having relearned how to watch the tape, VIX versus equities. That was the trade yesterday. If you were looking for one trade to do, gun to your head. I also want to bring it back to Larry for subscribers to hear. Trading is, for experienced subscribers will be nodding their head, but people that are on the learning curve and want to learn more and want to get to that expert level, trading for me is baseball, or trading for me is an athletic event. You get up and you get another at bat. You have another game, and the most important thing for me, and I'm not going to pat Larry on the back too much. This is just honest. The quicker you come out of the quicker a person comes out of denial of a bad day, the quicker they move on. So if this were me and I had a bad day and I come back the next day and I've got a guy sitting next to me like Larry, and I go, yesterday was meaningless. I would probably expect Larry on a desk to turn to me and go, dude, accept it and move on. If I come back and I say I had a shitty day, Larry would probably turn to me and say, you're right, it was a shitty day. Today's a new day. Let's move on. But if I come back and I say I had a shitty day and I mope at midday, I probably will get slapped in the back of the head by, whoever was sitting next to me saying, okay, it's over, put it behind you. Just be self-aware as opposed to self-conscious of how you process your losses, because how you process your losses is how you get right back on track to have winners. Don't lie to yourself. Don't rationalize. I'm speaking for myself, not Larry. I'm speaking for rookie or beginning traders. It's baseball. Of course, you don't want to have a 33 batting average, but it's baseball. You're going to have you have to be an athlete. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, or it's a series of sprints. And I can say, from the losses I've had, it's nice to have someone next to me. In my case, it was a friend of mine, Chris Barrons, who would say, shut up. It's one day. You're going to be trading for another 10 years, and you've had 900 good days before that. Shut up, Vince, because I would just, go in the bathroom and just start, crying in a stall. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, and that's where I think
there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in trading.
I know, but there's no crying, and you're right. Okay, there was a little bit of sobbing and weeping, and a little bit of gnashing of teeth, and I broke out the whip.
I
and
never
started
cried. I've done some crazy things, but I've never.
No,
cried.
I had people working under me at the time, Larry, and I would immediately go from sad to angry and throw something at a clerk, usually an HP 12C. If you're on the floor, if you're on a desk, those loosened phones were great because the cords would snap back. You can retrace it like a batarang, and you would wear a helmet after a bad day if you were unfortunate enough to work with me.
Yeah, there were some bad days. I'm not even going to go into what went on. The amount of anguish and pain. Pain is more what I got affected by, not crying.
Understood.
But the hardest thing as a trader in this situation is to figure out how to come back, how to make a winning trade, and how to just move on from the fact that you were completely wrong. And yesterday, what was wrong about what I did was losing on the first 2 trades. Whatever that, the market was ridiculous. But then, in a very strong day, selling weakness is just not the way you want to trade. And, it sort of, hammered me and blew me out of the second trade more quickly.
Larry, I don't mean, I don't want to interrupt you, but I will interrupt you incessantly if a subscriber has a question Do you mind if I throw something? John Hassinger, who does a lot of FX trading, but he's asking about the market in general. He's asking, do you have any thoughts presently on trading the Fed? Do you see a potential trade after the FOMC?
No, I have no trades right now
Okay.
at all.
Do you think
Zero.
that's a function of you
Zero. No,
pulling in
it's
the
the
reins after
yeah.
yesterday, or do you think that's more a function
I'm
of
not
you
even
see nothing
looking
out
at a
there?
trade right now. I mean, ironically, maybe in S&P, my next trade would be to buy. We had such a strong day yesterday, and we're, down about 20% of that move. But I'm not doing anything. So the answer
Okay.
is I'm not even close to looking at anything, looking at a trade. I may not even trade today. I got to see
Gotcha.
how the
Gotcha.
day goes. I got to wait for the thing to
Gotcha.
just get a little bit more clear. Yesterday was, and I guess unfortunately I was in the camp of many rather than few. So being in the camp of many, put us in a very bad position. So everybody must have been short at some point yesterday, and
Right.
they ramped
Right.
everybody. And even guys that I've seen that have been buying this dip, and then couldn't take it and got out, were buying, were selling again, and all they wanted to do was buy. So, it's interesting. The market looks a little bit weak. Apple's the crazy one. I mean, we were long Apple under 200. It's like
I know.
210. It's up like
I know.
7% in 2 days, a day and a half.
Talk about I say this trader to trader. Uh, 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 Talk about cutting profits short and letting your losses run. I really hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, I was right. I was really right. I mean, I do that so much with my system. So
Yeah.
that's a tough beat.
Yeah, no, we made money on the trade, but
No, but wouldn't you just like to just have it long and just be short everything else? And,
yeah,
you know what I
but
mean?
that's not the
At
way the
least,
world. It's not the way the world works. Unfortunately, especially the world of a mean reversion trader. You're never gonna have that big grand
right.
slam. But that's more what you do. By buying these options, you're looking more for the home run. Or
Right.
the big move. So we'll see. And overall, the markets are crazy. I mean, we're 200. We were 220 points off the low and only 100 points from an all-time high. That all happened in less than 5 days, and it's the same thing that always happens. It's just it's an amazing market. So you have to look at it. You have to respect it. You have to understand it. The volatility thing is something that I look at every day. It's outside my realm of understanding why when VIX on the cash was at 26 that the VIX futures were at 20. Now we know the answer why, because they were waiting for the rally, and they got the rally. And I'll tell you, the VIX futures are all now over the cash. So the cash is 1650, and all futures are 16.95 out to 18 $17. So we're back at a premium. So this is the new mantra, the new volatility thing that these guys are doing. And the thing is,
Well, they look at money. They don't look at volatility. They spend
the
as little
only
as they
way
can.
volatility is gonna do anything ever is when we had what we had in February, where Goldman Sachs blew up a product. They blew up that Credit Suisse product. They blew it up single-handedly, and that caused a dislocation in the market and dislocation in volatility. Okay, this time down, we went within 80 handles of that last low, and volatility on the spike only went to 28. So it was 50 the last time it was down there. So, it was very controlled, very contained. Volatility is not a presence in this market, unfortunately. But there'll be good trading. We're having 20, 30 handle moves every day in S&Ps, so that's pretty good. And overall, that's sort of the recap. Yesterday was just really bad in Nasdaq, really bad in S&P. Sold them both, which there was really not a lot of reason to do that, but I felt very, very convicted. But overall, we gotta forget about it, try to make a little bit of money today, and move on. Oil's on its ninth down day in a row, 7 or 6 weeks down. Mike, I think, has the chart. Is that chart in the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see the chart of crude over S&P. Crude is on the dead low, down over 20%, and S&P just rallied about 8%. So we don't understand that trade either. I guess there's a glut. Wait, 5 weeks ago there was no oil. Now there's a glut of oil in 5 weeks. So
there's just no correlation that fits for me.
There's no
Strong dollar,
correlation to
higher
anything.
oil. Weak dollar, lower oil. Strong stocks, lower oil. Strong stocks, higher oil. Strong. It's
Well, no,
we might be
there's a-
seasonally. I think it's a question for seasonal traders. I think that might be a big deal. Cracks might be related, might be relevant right now.
Yeah, but listen, 5 weeks ago you could have sold, which we did, as much oil as you wanted, and $75 all day long, $76. Now there's no bid at $60. I mean,
maybe there's some holiday demand destruction that's going to be factored in as well. It's going to be overdone at some point, and we know if there's anyone who's going to catch the regression or coming off the bottom, it's going to be someone like you.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. And that's it, really. I don't have a lot more to add. I'm kind of disappointed in yesterday. I guess cannabis stocks went crazy yesterday. Till rate opened the day at 100 and ended the day at 140. That's not a big move. 40 points on a $100 stock. And then, your drivers are your Amazon up 105 and Apple up back up to 209. So,
hey, to circle back to oil for a second, Tracy threw something out there. We have an OPEC meeting this weekend, and they're talking about cutting recommendations. So the market is selling off. Let's see how it goes into the weekend for the OPEC meeting. Maybe you'll get one of those Friday rallies because shorts are a little nervous that they may cut really hard. Maybe the market will test it. The point is, Friday will be probably an even more important inflection point than usual.
I just think it's interesting if you really look at oil. It's like, it always got to me when they're like, "Oh, Saudis want the price lower." Why do they want the price lower? If you own a stock, why would you want the price lower of your stock? I mean, I get it's more of a supply-demand situation, but in general, Saudi Arabia was killing it when oil was 130 and 140, killing it. So at 50, they're not killing it. So why do they want to have it lower? They have to sell, 20% more oil than they did a week ago to make the same amount of money. So that's the one thing I don't get. I think that basically Trump told them what to do. They listened to him. Okay, they glutted the market with oil so he could basically bring it down for the election. And then, why would they want to have an oil glut? So, we'll see. It's interesting, because they put the sanctions on, they made exemptions. Eventually, this is gonna, hit home. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes. And overall markets are very quiet. Nasdaq's down 40. The S&P's down 10, and there's really not a lot going on overall.
Another comment. It's almost like we should have Tracy on this morning. She threw a number out there. The rumor is that OPEC is talking about a 1 million barrel per day production cut. To put that in perspective, she says that's actually a pretty big number. It would be a number that probably not coincidentally offsets the approximate 1 million that is still flowing from Iran. So that could be supportive. How the market reacts to that, whether it's rumor or fact. I think we're going to have a trade on Friday on oil. How's that? I don't know which way, but I think Friday is an oil day, and I think we're all going to be paying attention to that for what it's worth.
Well,
I'm excited for oil.
They're going into the meeting on, I don't know how many down weeks this is, but it's at least 6.
And
I
look,
was.
it may be a dead cat bounce. You know what I mean? Maybe it'll keep going down, but I'm saying, I
Oh,
think
come
Friday
on,
might be
Vince.
one of
You
those
know,
counter
you
days.
know the story. I mean, at 61, no one wants it. At 70, everyone needs it. And on the way to 90. I mean, that's the way markets work. You know.
Tho- Those are
You know.
those are the lamentations of a regression to the mean person. You know what I mean? And I'm the guy saying, and at 71, nobody wants it, and at 61, everybody loves it. And I just, that's how both of us get chopped up picking bad levels for good ideas. Can I throw one thing out there to our FX people? Um, uh, Specifically Mike Strongin and John Hassinger and our FX people who are very active in currencies like the Aussie dollar and the Japanese yen. Uh, uh, I am uh, uh, I am self plugging because the gold fix in the morning is I get a little information on expirations, and gold is, in my opinion, a tracker of the FX markets. And if you don't have the time or are doing other things in your morning routine, take a look at the report we're putting up because we put out expirations. Like, for example, there's some big expirations in the New Zealand dollar today. You can read that on your own, but hopefully it's going to help you in your own trading. Uh, uh, do with it as you would, but we're thinking about you guys as well.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I don't know. Other than that, there's nothing really going on. There's nothing going on in the dollar's quiet. Um, Bonds are really quiet. Um, they actually made a low last night. Um, they were hitting them hard on the Asian Open, and then they saved them. And there's not a lot going on. I mean, the S&P could trade the other side of unchanged later, but overall, not a lot doing here.
We talk about yields a lot here, and if you remember a couple months ago, subscribers and listeners, above 3%, that was an early alarm bell for increased stock volatility, and that was a great trading month. And then it got really good above 3.25. If you would consider this thought process, if we get above 3.25 again, it may be kind of like the new norm, and stocks will have digested it and there won't be a panic, and maybe we'd have to break another level in yield. It's kind of like the stock market doesn't make new lows, so the VIX doesn't make new highs. Kind of like, the Turkish lira isn't trading 7, it's trading 6. It's okay, even though people are dying a slow death economically. Point being is
Where is
325 may
that?
not be an inflection point,
Where is
and
that thing, by the way?
the Turkish lira.
Yeah, that thing. Talk about something that was the biggest
540.
biggest fraud of all time. That was the biggest fraud of all time.
I put on a suit yesterday, and it said "Made in Turkey," and I'm considering I'm considering putting it on eBay and selling it at a premium because with the tariffs, I have a feeling that my Turkish suit may go up in value as well as my pistachio nuts.
I'll tell
That's
you.
a joke.
I'll tell a quick story. I went to Turkey and on vacation, and we went into a rug store, and they put you in a room. They locked the room. I thought I was in like Midnight Express, the movie, and if anyone ever saw that, but they locked the room. They bring out a bunch of rugs, and like they like shame you into buying the rug, and they were saying, "Oh, Jay Leno was here last week and he bought a rug." I was like, "Okay." So that was my Turkey experience, but it was an interesting place, interesting economy.
Right?
Yeah, it reminds me of when my worst trade that I never did was in 2008, or I don't know if it was 10 or 11, I can't remember. But I went to Greece and I went to Athens, before the whole crisis, and I saw
So,
everything. And I
so if you
and I
stayed
was
another week, you
like,
could have bought the Acropolis for like five
well,
dollars.
yeah, well, no, I came back and I was like wondering how to short it, and I never did anything, but that would have been one of the greatest trades of all time. But I
Yeah,
saw, I mean, that economy was, and probably still is, wrecked. I mean, just destroyed. So, you know, sometimes by visiting and having boots on the ground, you get to see what it's really like, and you kind of you see our economy versus that. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable.
yeah.
I mean, listen, you know, I'm sure you've been to Europe many, many times. You know, you go to Italy and nobody's working. It's the greatest. We should move there. No one's working.
Culturally, it's more quality of life than standard of living. You know, you mentioned Greece, and it's funny. I was in the Caribbean for a time. Actually, had a house in Nevis, and this is what we saw. Like, yes, I would have loved to have been able to short Greece, but I knew I was out of my element because it was a fixed game in the sense that if you shorted Greek bonds, the ECB could rescue it and just invert the rule of law on you. But what I noticed, and this is a boots on the ground comment on what happened during that time. Remember how the dollar got strong as everyone was flowing into dollars? Well, real estate in Caribbean islands caught a bid because anybody who had money in countries like Greece, especially Greece, were looking to export their dollars. So they were going to Caribbean countries that would offer economic citizenship for buying a house of over $300,000. Doing that, I'm not making this up. I saw it happen. They would go there, buy a condo or whatever for $300,000, spend another $10,000 in economic citizenship. And the reason that worked is because the British West Indies have reciprocal passports with Great Britain, which at the time, Brexit wasn't on the table, offered you a path back to the mainland. So these people were like getting their money out of Greece, but keeping their ability to go back to Greece. So that was like it blew up, or blow up meaning rallied offshore real estate that you could buy in dollars. So there's the play. There was a play. That's my boots on the ground counter comment. It's would have. How do you short Greece? I mean, when the ECB is going to say, "Oh, we're going to guarantee your bonds 100%," what? Banks were forced to carry it on their balance sheets. Tough to make money on that stuff.
How come you came back?
I'm sorry.
How come you came back? I would have stayed in Nevis. I had friends that lived in St. John's. They had the life.
Yeah.
It's almost like
uh,
Florida.
Actually, Nevis is I would say a suburb of Florida, in the sense that if you live in Nevis or reside in Nevis, you take a plane to Florida for medical.
Oh, really?
Even the local people do. Yeah. I would have loved to stay there, but I have three kids, and I actually was considering moving there to educate them there. Quality of life over standard of living. But
Oh, it's a good
life
quality
gets
of
in the
life.
way. Life
Yeah,
gets in the
no
way.
doubt, no doubt. But yeah, those are good stories because they really, you know, I guess it's like how you would be if you spent maybe time in like, Texas or whatever, and you're
Yeah.
seeing how much flow. Like I remember when oil went to $20, or whatever it was a couple of years back, there were like tankers like all outside the ports. Just they wouldn't let them in. They had so much oil they couldn't store it.
Right.
But that was another
That was the
one.
time
Like,
when you see the contango dip like way below the cost of carrier, cost of storage, and if you had the
well,
deep
that the
pocket,
the
it was the
crude
time
the
to buy,
crude
right?
spreads there were like $10 out a year. So
Yeah.
the front month was 30, and then the back month was 38 or 40. So there was no real opportunity. I think the curve is in line now, but back then it was just but of supply. It's just weird, like talking about oil. It's like literally, if we were speaking a month and a half ago, you would say there was no oil, and they're freaking out. And then a month goes by and there's a glut of oil or whatever, or
Right.
there's a lot of oil. I
Right.
mean, that's the one thing that's I think better about the market, the stock market. It's like I think it's more pure, in the sense that like oil, it's just all sellers or all buyers, and
Well,
there's no.
that's definitely symptomatic, I think, of cartel behavior, or when so much power is controlled in so few hands. At least the information in the stock market, whether you believe the market is managed or manipulated from time to time or not, at least there's an egalitarian flow of information for the most part. But I hear what you're saying.
Well,
It's
not
like, oh,
only not only that, like crude oil. This is what I don't understand, and I said this about the equities the other day. So their crude oil's down over 20% from the high. Okay, literally 20. It's like down 23% from the high, and they're saying it's in a bear market, but it's up on the year, flat to up on the year. Okay, so
right, right, right,
so
right.
is it really a bear market? I mean, it's up on the year. How could it be up on the year and be in a bear market? I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think people
So,
play fast and loose with terms. These terms actually have definitions and they're rigorous. And I think search engine optimization headlines trump reality. Unfortunately, they're using words incorrectly. I think you're good to point that out.
well, no, that's what I don't understand. And then another point is like the S&P went 9% from its all-time high, or 10.
Hmm.
It was a cataclysmic event. Okay, I was reading this guy who he's a J.P. Morgan guy, and he's patting himself on the back, and because he said to buy, and which everyone
Yeah,
always
I know
does.
you're talking about. I forget. His name starts with a K.
Marco Kalanovic.
Yeah, yeah,
Wh-
it started with a K. I
when
remember. Yeah, I
wait,
remember reading it.
when there's blood in the streets, that's when you buy. I'm like, and literally, is that blood on the streets down 10%?
He
Blood
doesn't
on
know
the
what blood
street?
on the
Wait, blood
streets
on the
means.
streets, unchanged on the year, down 10% from the high. That's blood on the streets.
Well, I think the next cliche coming is going to be when there are body parts in the gutters, they will be his. Let's put it that way, because that wasn't blood on the streets. That was a band aid, considering what could happen.
Yeah. So anyway, that's really it for this morning. Kind of bummed out about the trading yesterday. We're going to look for some opportunities. I don't see anything today. I see, markets in line with the opening. The thought is, do you buy the opening looking for a bounce back off a very, very strong day, or are they going to, sell them? I mean, to me, it looks like they're going to probably try to bounce them, get close to unchanged, and then you could probably sell them. We might try that, but we're going to be very nimble, and we're going to try to, put a P on the page and keep things positive here and move forward. I mean, that's
Yeah,
what you got to do. Yesterday was disheartening, and we got to come back. So we're not going to harp on it after we get off this call.
nope.
We're going to go on to the next, and that's it. So we got the Fed today. Don't expect much, but we'll keep an eye out for that. We see stocks pretty much in line. The S&P futures are pricing in about a $5-6 down open because they had a premium. So there's not really much going on. Oil is still under massive pressure, trading on the low of the entire move right now at $61.40, down about 23% from the high made 4 or 5 weeks ago. That's a crash. That's more of a
Yeah,
crash than going down
yeah.
10% from your high. But
On that, we'll be speaking. Bryn Kelly, Mike Korn are coming on at 11 o'clock, and so they're talking all things energy. They've been coming on recently, having a good conversation. I'm sure they'll touch on that, and also the recent volatility in natural gas. Nat gas right now, DEES is trading 355. Had that big move Sunday night, and really is held. So it'll be interesting to hear what they have to say in this volatile week in
Yeah.
all the energy markets. Then Tom McEntee is actually scheduled to come on at 2, but we're going to change that. We'll get a different time for him just because that's right when the Fed's coming out. So we're going to speak with Tom later, and Larry's going to be back, question and answer stuff. It's going to be an active day, 2 o'clock. Keep an eye on the yields. We'll talk about more Fed stuff before it comes out. But yields are at interesting levels. The 2 years above 295, so it's at the high of the year. So it'd be interesting to see if they acknowledge anything about the global market volatility in their speech, or it's expected they do absolutely nothing today. That said, they are expected to hike in December, about an 80% chance. So we'll keep a close eye on that. But that's it for what I see for the day. We'll be back throughout the day.
All
Can
right.
I throw a couple things in there? A shout out
Sure.
and a couple levels for active trading. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
We got time for that? Okay. First of all, Bryn will be on, and I think well advised. She made a comment recently to me and to other people about something that's referred to as demand destruction as we go into holidays and businesses shut down. You might see pullbacks in energy. That's me elaborating on her comment. Demand destruction is a phrase I think that might be brought up today, and let her explain how that works or doesn't work. And as we approach Friday, I would definitely harass Tracy as much as possible on technical levels because we know OPEC is going to come out with a statement. We don't know how it's going to affect the market. We do know it should affect the market. So keeping that in mind, I will be leaning on them personally, and I suggest subscribers do as well. Listeners and subscribers, for what it's worth, on my momentum system, and we'll just say baby regression system, which is an inversion on the ES, the S&P, after the first hour, I would be seriously considering shorting below 27.99 spot 71, and seriously considering buying above 28.18 spot 73 if the risk reward presents. Those are my levels. Feel free to look at those levels as also regression to the mean levels if you're comfortable trading that way, as in we get below 27.99 spot 71, I get short, the hour ends, it reverses, it might be a serious buy if it goes back up through there. Oil, I show nothing. Gold, I gave levels earlier. Gold is looking bad to me in general. Individual stocks, Apple, just throwing this out there. Use it as you see fit. That was the hourly I talked to you about on the ES, but on the 4 hourly on Apple, geez, I mean, all I can say is orderly rally to 212.5, 215. But that's a low conviction. The ES is a high conviction trade that I would look to put on with a tight stop. And I mentioned a gold trade below, I think 21. Remember, gold hates the teens. That's what I have. I hope everyone has a great trading day, and keep in mind that there's a lot of options expiries in the FX market.
Okay, thanks, Vince. All right. Good luck, everybody. We'll be back in a bit.